Tommy, what did I just watch? Hey, I'm Amy and welcome back. It is finally here, part 2 of Best Friends, or volume 2, I guess, of the Tommy Wiseau Greg Sestero, mostly Greg Sestero movie. Wow. So I don't remember much about what I said for the first part of this. That was back in April, I think. If you want to watch my review of that, you can check it out up there. But, I honestly forgot what happened for the most part in the first one until I got to this screening. This was probably the most fun and interesting movie-going experience I have ever had. I get to the theater about half an hour before the movie starts, and I'm sitting there, and people start coming in, and we're all sitting there. The movie's supposed to start at 8. We look at our watches, it's 8:15. The movie hasn't even started, no previews, no Fathom event thing, nothing. So finally at like, I don't know, 20 after 8, almost 8:30 maybe, the movie finally starts. There's no sound, and everyone's like, sound, cheering, sound. So they finally get the sound on. And it's volume 1. They play probably the first 20 minutes of volume 1 before someone gets up and is like, this is part 1, isn't it? This is the first one. I'm gonna go tell them, hey, you're playing the first one. So someone goes and tells them that they're playing the first part and they need to play the second part because that's what we paid to go see. And this happens.
The menu is baked into the film. This is also part of the decision. The second movie is baked into the film.
If you were following me on Instagram, you would have seen this the night I posted it. But yeah. So only in a Tommy Wiseau movie would this happen. Everyone was joking around that Tommy is just gonna pop out and be like, surprise, the first part is the first and the second one. There's really no ending to this. But yeah. So after watching the first like 20 minutes or so of the first part of this movie, or this whatever it is, I kind of got my memory jogged back and I was like, okay, I remember kind of what happened in that, and was able to go on to the second one when they finally started showing it. Before I get into my good thoughts on this, I want to talk a little bit about everything else. This movie was I think I probably said in the first review for the part 1 that it felt like it was trying to be The Room. There was like some really odd slow motion, bad acting. Well, they got rid of the slow motion for the most part. They doubled up, tripled up on the bad acting. And the story, well, let's just say things got very weird. Very, very weird. It didn't really go anywhere. I felt like a lot of the time they were sitting there talking about doing one thing for a good 50% of the movie. They were talking about doing it, trying to do stuff about it, but never really going anywhere. And when they finally got there, I don't want to do any spoilers for this because I don't think you can watch it anymore now because it was a 2-night Fathom event, just like the first part, and the second day of the Fathom event was yesterday, so sorry. But I have a feeling because it was a Fathom event, it's going to be released on either VOD or physical or both fairly soon. So you will be able to watch this sometime in the future, near future, I hope. I have a lot of notes here, like this whole page is notes and they are very hard to read, but like, oh man, I feel like this is going the exact same way as my first review, and I had, in the car ride home, I had all of these thoughts planned out of what I would want to talk about, but they're all just going out the window right now because I just was like, I can't concentrate on how weird this movie was. It has a very good premise. It in a lot of places it feels like it's gonna go someplace, but it never really gets there. They set up a whole bunch of stuff that, well, I don't think they really set up anything. They don't really set up much. There's a huge twist somewhere in all of this that I saw coming from the very beginning of part 2. I feel like they could have condensed the first part into a little bit shorter and tacked on to the beginning of this and made this movie like a little over 2 hours versus having 2 hour-and-a-half long session movies. But it made it an event, made it feel fun. The story is just so full of plot holes. Like I said, they talk about doing a whole bunch of stuff and never really do anything. It flips back and forth between a whole bunch of different things, like these dreams that Greg Sestero's character is having that don't make sense at all. You find out what happens, what the dreams are, or what you think are the dreams, and this is going exactly the same as the first one, and I thought that this would be a little bit more articulate than the first one because I had it all planned out. I think overall it really just felt like some freshmen in college student filmmakers were given a unlimited budget and a couple really good-ish cameras and were just told, write a screenplay and film it, do whatever you want, just go make a movie. That's your assignment, and that's what they did. And it really felt like a student film. It felt like something that I made in college. Maybe a little bit better quality, maybe a little bit worse writing. Even though Greg Sestero wrote it, it still, like, he wrote The Disaster Artist, not the movie, the book. And I've heard it's a pretty solid book-ish, even though it's just a retelling of what happened while they were making The Room. I don't think he did a solid job on writing this. But with all that being said, with how hard it was for me to articulate my thoughts on this was the most fun I've ever had in a movie. I normally don't like people talking or getting their phones out, which people didn't get their phones out really in this, except for at that part at the beginning where I had my phone out, but a lot of other people were kind of recording the screen the same way I was. It felt like I was in a huge group of people watching a midnight screening of The Room. At the end of it all, this felt like The Room. It didn't capture the essence of The Room, but it got there. It got there way better than the original or the first part did. And I think that's mostly because I was in a packed theater this time. The first time it was me and maybe 5 or 6 other people, so it didn't really have the same feel. But in this one, having a whole bunch of people there with you screaming at the screen, laughing at all of the stupidness and the weirdly long shots. Like, they were just holding a take on somebody for no reason. And there were, oh man, I'm going to start getting into all of the other stuff again. Like, they added in characters that went nowhere else, and they added in a whole plot line that went nowhere with the cop. And they set up some stuff. Well, I said that already. They set up some stuff that they didn't really set up anything, but they did kind of set up one storyline with something it feels like they skipped a little bit of before they got to that storyline, but then that storyline went nowhere after a little bit. But anyways, people were just, it was so much fun. The kid sitting next to me kept yelling at the screen, and then he apologized to me on the way. I was like, hey, I'm sorry if I was being too loud. I'm like, dude, no. That was made it so much more fun. If they ever do midnight screenings of this like they do of The Room, you need to grab a bunch of friends and go see it, because the part volume 2, whatever it's called, is so much more fun, and I feel like I just blacked out for a little bit and talked, and I don't know where I'm going. But I think you kind of get the picture of what I'm trying to say. I really hope you do, at least. So I think before I get any more word vomit out, I'll give my rating and bid you all a fond farewell for this video. So my rating for this, I know in the part 1 I said, I'm pretty sure I said Netflix. This one, if you watch them back to back, I think I had so much fun in the experience that it made me want to lean towards adding this to my collection. I think well, I mean, I had a lot of fun with it, but I don't think having it in my collection will bring back the feeling of watching it in the movie theater with someone. But I think watching it with a big group of friends will make it better. So I think I'll split the difference between the first part definitely was a Netflix, and this last part, the theater experience and all of that stuff, is definitely something I would add to my collection. So I'm going to split the difference between the two and say Redbox. Overall, for Best Friends Volume 1 and 2, Redbox. That is my final rating for both of them. If you saw Best Friends Parts 1 and 2, or one or the other, let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Do you think it's as good as The Room? Do you even know what The Room is? If you haven't, check out my review of The Room up there, as well as my review of The Disaster Artist, because I love both of those movies. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, truly do appreciate every single one of you. Let me know who you are in the comments down below, and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I love talking all things movies, TV, filmmaking, film history, good movies, bad movies, all that stuff. So I'll see you next time. Bye!